listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camunia here. We are back with episode 85 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Doing good, bro. I just starving for one, just because I don't think I've ate all day today. This is like it's like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when we're recording this now.
Yeah.
And this has been a long day just because we actually had to push this back because our guest actually had like a migraine, so I'm glad he's doing a little bit better now. But I just finished work and I came straight over here to do this podcast, and I started thinking like, man, this is the type of work that people don't see. Like the level of things that you do when nobody's looking. Like this is how you make generational wealth for yourself, when you're doing things when nobody's looking. So that's something I started reflecting on earlier. Just like you have to sacrifice early on, especially if you want to have early financial freedom or early retirement or anything like that. You have to do what other people are not willing to do. And so I'm just always like reflecting on like things that we're doing that's planting the seeds for where we're going. And so that's like my little reflection moment. How you doing, bro?
I gotta put a sound effect right there. the over the rainbow sound effect. But no, man, I'm doing good. I think that's definitely a fact. We got a whole bunch of work goes into this podcast that people don't really even realize. I mean, we 85 episodes in, 15 more to 100. But who's counting? We should hit that by September. But who's counting? So that's good, man. And it's growing. It's continuing to grow every week, and I'm super excited about that. But I'm just really focused on growing the business, man. Business has been going good, and I'm just really focusing on hiring and expanding right now. So it's funny because I was at Barnes and Nobles on Sunday getting a book, and okay, so how you go into Barnes or Nobles, and generally speaking, you have a good idea of like, I guess if you've been to the Barnes and Nobles before. I've been to this one before, and I knew, okay, I was looking for a personal development book, but I went to the business section of the store, and I'm just looking around, because one thing about me is like, I really don't like trying to ask for help, so I'm super stubborn, unfortunately. So what happens is I'll go into the store, and one thing that annoys me is when people like, okay, because you know how like growing up, you would like, I don't know if this happened to you, but this happened to me all the time. Like, do you be looking for something in your pantry or in your fridge, whatever, and you just can't find it, and then you ask your mom, and she just like come over there and find it immediately? It's like, bro, I swear I was looking. Yeah, and so I was like, don't worry, I'm going somewhere with this. But I was in the store looking for this book, and I could not find this book, and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna ask, because the last time I was here, I did the same thing, and I was looking in the aisles. I was like, I'm not gonna ask where this book is, because I will find it. And the first time I was there, like a few months ago, I ended up not finding it. I looked for about 20 minutes. I was like, bro, I cannot find it. So I just had to ask someone. The lady came and she found it immediately, and I was like, bro, I swear I looked right there, and it wasn't there. And so when I went in there this weekend, I was like, okay, you know what we're going to do. Get your mind right. We ain't going to ask nobody. You're going to find this book. And so I'm looking, scanning. I promise I looked for like 30 to 35 minutes. That's just how stubborn I am. I wasted that much time when I could have just asked, right? But I'm sitting there looking, and I'm just looking, and I'm looking, and I just can't find it. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to sit in here for an hour. So I went to the service center, and I asked the lady, I was like, hey, I'm trying to find this book. And this other girl was talking to her too. She was like, hey, I'm looking for the book. She's like, I'm looking for the 46 Laws of Power. And in my head, I was like, I got one of them. Yeah. She was like, I was like, what about the other two?
I don't want those two.
You don't want the other two? You just want the 46? But anyway, the lady was like, yeah, it's over here. And I followed her because I overheard their conversation. I followed them. And she was like, oh, sir, I'll be with you in a minute. I was like, no, I'm going over here. I know it's over here, but I just can't find it. She was like, oh, okay. And so we get over there, and she finds the 48 Laws of Power for the other girl, and she asked me, what am I looking for? I said, I'm looking for How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not over here. That's over here. And she like walks me to the most remote, desolate part of the store. She's like, it's right here. And she literally like goes like 3 shelves down, pulls the book out from a precise location. Like she saw it well before we got there. And she pulls it out and she's like, this is what you're looking for. I was like, man, you really know this store really, really well, like the back of your hand. She was like, 8 years. And she said it with a smile. And I was like, it made me have a revelation. I was like, man, those are the kind of people that I want in my business. Cause I was just thinking, but I was like, man, she's been in the store for 8 years. She knows it so well that she can, I can just imagine. She probably knows SKU numbers, everything, how certain books look, color, everything. Like she knows, damn near how many dust particles are in every single book. And so I'm just thinking like, man, and she's taking pride in it. Like she's taking pride in that fact that, I mean, for me, I personally, working for another company, I couldn't do that. Like there's no way I can take so much pride in someone else's company. But there are people out there that will, right? There are people out there that are just like that, right? And so that's what I was just thinking. I was like, man, when you find those kind of people, especially when you're starting a business, because like I said, I say this because I'm all in this stage of hiring more people for my cleaning business and all those kind of things. And those are the kind of people I'm looking for. How much pride do they take in their work? And are they going to treat your business as if it's their own business, right? Because I know right now I have 5 very, very good cleaners, and I have one that is pretty bad, and I just fired her this weekend just because of that. But the other 5 I have, they take pride in their stuff, like so much so. And I'm just like, man, those people, when you find them, you gotta treat them nice. You gotta treat them well. Not nice. Well, you gotta treat them well, and just make sure that they stick with you for the long haul. Because those are the kind of people that will take your business to the next level. Because I can't. There's only so much I can do now. Now it's about the people I bring in, and entrusting it to them. Some sort of having some trust into them to where if they go out, they can represent my brand, my company with pride as if it's their own. Because that's essentially what they're doing. The customer doesn't know that it's my company. They just see it as like, oh, that's a worker for that company, right? And so it's just something I thought of this past weekend. I know I want to mention it on the podcast because it's something I'm going through it right now, and I like to share a lot of those real life experiences, man. So
I think it's super ironic that the book that you were looking for when you found this out was How to Win Friends and Influence People, because you're talking about how those are people that you got to treat really well. So you better learn the blueprint of how to treat those people the right way when they're in your business. So. But I think it also goes to show that those people are out there. So for the people that we're talking to that are entrepreneurial minded, that are starting their own businesses, that believe that there's nobody that's going to treat their business as they will, these are the people. Like, this is a living proof that somebody is out there that is willing to work for somebody else's business and will take pride in doing so. And so if you can find those people, that's going to make your life a lot easier. So, but don't give up hope that there's nobody out there like it. Just continue to look and find who's right for you.
Yeah, it's hiring, I believe, is 100% a numbers game. Most of the 90% of people you find are going to be garbage, but 10% of those people, you want to make sure that you treat them well, because they gon'. One thing I know is that you take care of people, they will take care of you. So that's definitely a mindset as a CEO, as a business owner, whatever you want to title you want to give yourself, a mindset I'm trying to get into. But that being said, we had a great episode this week. Episode 85 was phenomenal with Mr. Alistair Edwards. Shout out to Jamaica as well, too, because that's where he's from, and we got into that a little bit in the podcast. So shout out to everybody listening to us out in the Caribbean, however you say it. But, man, this is a great episode. I'm telling you, it just being able to kind of talk to these people, offline and on the podcast is just it's crazy, man, because just getting so many ideas, just talking to these people and ideas planning in your head is just like, man, this is how you grow, man. Surrounding yourself with these kind of people. And even if you're listening to this, you're doing that, right? Yeah. If you're listening to these conversations on podcasts, that's what you're doing. You're surrounding yourself with people that are ahead of you, right? Because people got to remember, podcasts are relatively new, right? Came out 2005, iPod broadcast, new word, right? So people got to understand, like, this is something where it's like, if you're listening to podcasts, you are putting yourself in a different circle, right? You with digital mentors, they don't realize it, but you do, and you're just getting so much value if you listen to these things and apply them to your life. And that's what he did in this episode. We got into so much about sales and personal development and how he, pretty much he's in network marketing, but he got to $1 million income within 5 to 6 years in the network marketing business through personal development and also just, being a beast and, working hard at it. So he talks about how he scaled that, and kind of how he's, doing what he's doing now, and just so many gems dropped in this episode, man. So many. What did you think of it?
I mean, I just love I love the fact that we are able to expose ourselves to all this information, and we're just having a conversation like weekly with different people of all walks of life that have been able to find success in some field and show people in multiple ways that anybody can obtain wealth. But it really starts off with who they're surrounding themselves with. So I think it's so important when you talk about the environment that you're putting yourself in, whether it's the podcast or whether you're actually talking to these people. I think it's so important that you are feeding yourself the right information, because he talked about it a lot during the episode that it wasn't even about making money or making sales in the beginning when it came to him working in his network marketing. It was all about him personally developing. And like once you had that personal development, once you became the person that was capable of making those millions, it's gonna come in abundance.
Yeah.
And so you need to really focus on what are you feeding yourself in your mind. Like they had him reading books when they in that network marketing business, and I think that is what really allowed him to continue to flourish, because you feed yourself new information, and it's all out here. It's in books, it's in podcasts, it's in people. You have to just expand outside your immediate circle. They may not have it, but somebody does. Somebody's doing something that you want to do or are not doing currently, and you have to just find those people, find out what they know, and you're doing a great job by listening to this podcast already. And so this is how you surround yourself. This is how you elevate your thinking and elevate your earnings as well, as a result of elevating your thinking first.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. No need to keep listening to me. Y'all can listen to me talking to him. So that being said, let's get into it.
How you doing, Alistair?
Hey, doing well. How you doing today?
Doing wonderful, man. I don't know if you was in the morning meetup earlier today, but I know it was a little crazy in there.
Yeah, I was on this morning when we did the breakouts.
Yep. How we like to start these interviews is we always want to get like a backstory of our guests and figure out like how they were with money growing up, what they saw with money as far as like in their households, and kind of how they evolved into who they became today. So we want to just start off there. And so can you give us a little bit of your backstory?
Okay. Born in England to Jamaican parents. Left England when I was 3 and moved back to Jamaica. Lived in Jamaica from I was 3 to 14. And my mom had a craft shop, a variety craft shop in a city called Mandeville. And so from a very early age, I was behind the counter collecting money and dealing with customer service. So I did that while I was there. When I was 14, the family moved to Hollywood, Florida. So I went to high school in Hollywood, Florida. Started with public supermarkets as a bag boy, working with them when I was 15. That was my first job here in America. And worked with them all through high school and college. My freshman year of college, I went to Kendall College in Northwestern in Chicago. That's where I pledged for my fraternity. And then transferred back to Florida A&M, graduated from FAMU with a double major in business economics and political science. But all through college, worked with public supermarkets. And when I graduated from FAMU, I had like 5 or 6 job offers in sales, pharmaceutical sales, petroleum sales, and Dudley Hair Products offered me a position. But it wasn't based on my GPA. A lot of that was based on the fact that I did 2 summers selling books door to door for the Southwestern Book Company. So over a 3-month period during the summer, I probably knocked on over 3,000, 4,000 doors selling encyclopedias and Black history books. And so I got a lot of sales experience there. When I graduated from FAMU, I decided to stay with Publix and came to Atlanta to open up the very first Publix supermarkets, and did a total of 27 years with them. I got introduced to Legalshield in 2003 when I was a store manager at Publix on Cascade in Southwest Atlanta. And it took me a while to even look at the business model. Network marketing was not something I thought I would be interested in, or I didn't really trust the system. I was one of those people that thought it was a scam and all of that. So it took a while for me to go look at it, but I finally did. It made sense. My first year, I made about 30,000 part-time. But by my 4th year, it was matching my full-time salary at Publix. And by my 6th year, it was matching it in residual income, where it was paying me about 8 or 9 grand a month just in residual. And so July 4th became my personal independence day, 2009. It was my Independence Day. I retired from Publix, hadn't looked back since. And so now this is going on my 17th year with Legalshield. So I do both sides of the market. So I do the network marketing model. So I have a team, I have a large organization that does pretty well, but I also have a direct selling team where we take that legal plan and that identity theft protection benefit into companies and provide it as an employee benefit for their employees. So small businesses, companies, city municipals. So I helped broker the deal with City of Atlanta to where they provide it as a payroll benefit for their employees. H.J. Russell has been a customer of mine for years. So, just providing legal coverage, giving the average person access to some of the top ranked law firms without them having to pay, $300-400 an hour.
I just want to say first, shout out to Jamaica, everybody that's listening to us in Jamaica, man. Because I hear the accent, so it's definitely got to represent.
That's my roots, man. That's my roots. I mean,
Yeah, man.
Jamaica's home. I tell you, Jamaica. I somehow wish that I could have had my kids grow up in Jamaica because it was a different experience. You get to appreciate life a little differently. You take the materialism out of things when you grow up in a country like that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's equal, and there's more so a work ethic and respect for family. And
that's something I kind of wanted to touch on because I love when we have immigrants on the show because it's always a very unique perspective because myself, I'm an immigrant. Everybody listening to that knows that, but just for you, I'm an immigrant too. I was actually born in Kenya and I came here when I was 1 year old.
Okay.
So I mean I'm by law immigrant, but I mean I grew up in the U.S. So, but it's always interesting because obviously I'm first generation. My parents, they are straight, from Africa, and growing up in a third world country like they did, it's obviously a different kind of mindset growing up. Where coming to America is kind of like you see there. I always like to call it. Well, no, how should I say this? So one of my favorite books that I've actually read is called The Disintegration of Black America. And so one thing they talk about is how there's four classes of Black America. And Black America is not a monolith, right? And one of the classes of Black America, they call it the emergent class, which is the immigrants and like the mixed blacks, like those kind of people that kind of, they're just not like true Black Americans that are like born natural here. But they kind of immigrated here, and they always look at things differently here because when you come from a country like Jamaica or from somewhere in certain countries in Africa, you kind of come here with a mindset of there's so much opportunity here, and I'm just coming with my hard work mentality mindset. I know I'm going to kill it when I get out here, right? And that's typically why you see a lot of immigrants that come out here and are so successful. In fact, Black immigrants are the most successful group of immigrants in America, right? And so with you being in sales, I know because I know just based on the fact of what you were talking about, 3,000 doors in the summer, sales is a very, very, very time intensive, and it's a huge thing to become great at. And I look at this. We had our fair share of sales back in the day when growing up in high school. We played football and we had to go door to door selling cards. I guess it was in the spring or the summer, right? Me and Marlon were always the number one, number two seller. I mean, I was always number one, but Marlon was always number two. and it was a similar thing. We knew like it was pretty much set for it. We probably had to hit 500 doors to sell maybe 50 cards, right? So it's just like the mentality you get into, right? Well, but I want to ask you just based off of that, how did like your upbringing and that whole, mentality back home in Jamaica, play a factor in your success with sales? Because a lot of people don't understand how hard sales is. Sales is very, very, very tough. So could you kind of just briefly talk about that?
So I think if you visit any third world country or any country like a country like Jamaica or anything like that, everybody's an entrepreneur and you don't even know it. Yeah. Like every business is an entrepreneurial business. We didn't have the major Walmarts or the major Publixes, or we had the Changs had the grocery store, right? The Birds had the gas station. The Edwardses had the craft shop. Everybody had their own little niche. They figured out, what am I good at? And that would be my business. And the community rallied around that, right? I knew if I needed any mechanical work done, I'd go see my boy Chris Bird and Damian Bird and the Bird family and go to their gas station and get the work done there. They knew if they needed gifts or anything for their family or any type of trinket or family present, they come to our shop. You know what I mean? It was a community. The community was built around entrepreneurship. Everybody figured out, what is your skill? What is your gift? What is your thing? And you be good at that. You support us in what we're good at, and we'll support you in what you're good at. You know what I mean? And so seeing, I mean, you had to fight for what you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing was given to you.
Yeah. So is that how you approach sales when you came here? It was the same mentality because that was already built into you. Like it was innate.
You know,
Yeah.
my dad taught me early in life, you don't act as the position you're given, you act always as the position you want.
Yeah.
So even when I was 15 and got a job as a bagger,
Yeah.
right? I knew I didn't want to bag all of them. You know, I knew I didn't want to bag. So we were given a polo and some khaki pants. That was the uniform of the baggers. But I knew the stock clerks wore shirt and tie. So even as a bagger, I wore shirt and tie. I would come to work in a shirt and tie. You know what I mean? Until I was given the opportunity. You know, people would come up to me on the front end at 15 and think I was the front end manager because I was dressed the part.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You act the part. And so it's one of those things where you have to go ahead and start acting the goal out before the goal is actually achieved. You know what I mean? It's walking into your destiny is what I call it.
I love that mindset though, and I love that your dad instilled that in you at a young age, because you have to be, first of all, you have to become in your mind who you want to be when you whatever goal you may have. If you want to become that person, if you want to have those things, you have to first be that person mentally, and you have to walk like you already have that in order to manifest it into reality. Like, so if you want to be that manager, if you want to be the stockbroker, if you want to be whatever you want to be, you have to first believe that you can be that, and then walk as if you already are that in order for it to manifest in your life. And one thing I liked about your entire story is that you did a lot of traveling. Like, you talking about immigrant is one thing, but you were in Hollywood. Was that in Cali or was that in Florida?
Florida.
Florida, a little north
Okay.
of Miami, between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Hollywood.
Okay, so it was in Florida though, and then you went to FAMU, but now I know you're in Atlanta. So you've seen a lot of the a lot. You've seen a lot of different places and have a lot of different perspectives. So now you going back to Jamaica, you see the entrepreneurial go get it mentality. Over here in the States, you see how people feel like they're a little bit more entitled and privileged. Like they may not have the same type of drive as somebody that has to get it by whatever means that's in an immigrant country. So I think that having that perspective allows you to appreciate the opportunities that are available over here in comparison to somewhere else. And I think, is that kind of a reason that you want to have your children grow up over there as opposed to like growing up out here?
Well, I mean, the way I grew up was a little different than the way they grew up. You know what I mean?
Right.
When your environment dictates everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My friends have it, so I should have it. No, not necessarily. Right? It all depends on what your friends' parents are capable of providing for them and what your parents are providing for you.
Right.
And what are you willing to go get?
Yeah.
Right? Every situation might be totally different. So you have to be ready and prepared. I always tell people the biggest battle you will ever face is the battle with you and yourself. Because that's the only thing holding you back at the end of the day. It's the battle with you and yourself. It's what you keep telling yourself every day. People will throw things at you. Life will throw things at you. But the true determination is how you react to it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where your mind comes in. That's where the personal development comes in. That's where the growth comes in. Right? You got to stop and think things out. The guy steps on your shoes and you say, oh, I need to go ahead and punch him. No, then he may pull out a gun. Then now I got to shoot him. Now I'm doing life. Or you could say, bro, my bad. It's a pair of shoes. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
Right.
I think sometimes we overreact to things that have nothing to do with the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think a lot of things I think a lot of that life experience and a lot of your lessons come from just what you're surrounded by. So like, I want to go back to what you were talking about with sales. Like you said, for those two summers, you did over 3,000 or knocked over on 3,000 doors. And what type of mentality or what type of what type of approach does that give you in life after you've knocked on so many doors, been turned down so many times? Because most people, when they are turned down or when they consider themselves as a failure or that they failed at something, they usually either quit or that they continue moving forward. You definitely continue moving forward on it, but a lot of people are deterred by any type of rejection. So like, what did that sales training at an early age do for you and your mentality?
Well, I'll give the Southwestern. It was a Southwestern book company, and I tell you, their strategy was unique. They take college kids from around the country, probably 300 different schools, come and bring a team of college kids where they bring you to Tennessee, to Nashville. You go 3 days and they teach you the product. So you learn about the different encyclopedias and what someone having an encyclopedia would mean to their house, or what a black family knowing their African-American history would mean to them, and what a child having a set of good children's book, the foundation it'll give them as a kid. So they spend 3 days just teaching you the product and what the benefit of the product is. Then on the last day, they bring you into this big auditorium and they say, okay, Marlon, you're going to be in Bladensburg, Virginia. All right, Alex, you're going to be in Suffolk, Virginia. Alistair, you're going to Delaware. So you don't even know where you're going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then you jump in your car, you drive out to your territory, and your first day, it's your responsibility to find out where you're going to live for the summer. I want you to think about that. Imagine being a college student, calling your parents and saying, hey, Mom, I got a summer internship. Where are you going to be, son? Don't know. Where you gonna be staying, Mom? Don't know.
What year was that?
Conversation.
You said this is in college, right? So now, how old are you at this time?
18.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Imagine how we was looking at 18.
So 19.
Yeah.
And my first day in Suffolk, Virginia, I'm knocking on doors. Hey, my name is Alistair Edwards. I'm a college student from Florida A&M. I'm going to be selling encyclopedias and Black history books door to door to educate the kids in the neighborhood. And I just need a place to stay. And do you know a family that would be willing to rent a college student a room for 3 months at a small rate? I will be out of the house at 8 a.m. and I won't be coming back until 9 p.m. tonight. So you'll very rarely see me. No? Thank you. Next door. Hey, my name is Alice. Nope. Next door. Next door. Nope. Next door. That's your first day.
Yeah.
Man.
In the trenches.
In the trenches. And then finally someone says, yeah, I got a room down in the basement. My first summer, I was a lady, Miss Jean was a foster parent. She already had 6 other kids in the house. She had an empty room down in the basement. I think I paid like $40 for the month.
Sheesh.
For the entire month, you paid $40. That was your rent.
That was my rent. And then the next morning you get up, they give you some instructions. You wake up every morning, you take a cold shower, open your pores up. You get out of the house by 8 o'clock and you start working your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the reason you get up early is not to sell any books. It's to survey the land. It's to find the one person that is at home that's going to give you all the intel on everybody else.
Mm.
So I meet Miss Jones at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. She and I are drinking on her porch and she's telling me, yeah, that's Marlon over there. He has 2 kids. That's a nice African-American family over there. So I know Black history books. That family over there has children. I think they're like 6 children's book. So I draw a whole map of the whole street.
Yeah.
I got all of that from Miss Jones at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now I go try and make a few sales, but of course, 90% of the people are not home. My gravy hour is from 5 to 9.
Shit.
And as cars start pulling in, I walk up to you as you're getting out of your car.
Yes. Ooh,
hey, Marlon, how you doing, sir? Now you're trying to figure out how I know your name. Well, Miss Jones told me, but I'm not going to tell you that. Hey, Marlon, I'm Alistair. I'm a college student from Florida A&M. Look, I understand you have 2 amazing kids that are getting ready to go to college, and we have an amazing encyclopedia set that's going to help them through that process. I was wondering if you'd give me 5 minutes to share the information with you. Is this a good time, or do I need to come back later? And you'd sell books on the back of trunks. You'd send them on doorsteps. You'd send them on the porch. You'll send them on the garage. You'll sell them by the mailbox. I mean, it was a different setting.
Yeah, that's what I loved about when you was at the boot camp too.
One thing they always told me is the solution to the solution to your current problem is at the next door.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a whole mentality that you have to have. Like you have to. Like, just throwing you into that environment, throwing you into the wolves and saying you have to survive or you're going to just drown. Like that.
But here's the kicker. Any money that you need to survive is going to be made off of the deposits you get from those customers. So you got to sell. You ain't
This is why I believe that if somebody, especially people who are listening that are like just graduating college, I would really love for everybody to go out on their own and not return to the house immediately, because I want them to have to learn how to fend for themselves. Because a lot of our target audience that we talk to are like just recently graduates out of high school and that are looking like usually getting their first full-time job, maybe making like $30,000 a year. So with that in mind, like you may not feel like you have enough money to live off of, but you need to find a way. Like for you, you had nothing, and you had to like if I don't make the sale, I don't eat today. And having that mentality that allows you to like you would never go hungry a day in your life because you have learned a skill that will allow you to make money forever. Because people are always out here, and if you can make a sale on anything, you can make money. And just
And what I also learned too, man, is you can never judge people. Like the people you think won't buy will, and the people
Man,
you
that's a
think will
fact.
buy
yeah,
won't. And the people that you think are racist are not, and the people that you think aren't racist are. I mean, it's sometimes we put up our own barriers on people. Like it very rarely failed that I didn't get a meal because somebody's mama was gonna cook me something. Boy, you're not gonna go back out in the streets without a meal. Here, take a sandwich. It was always that person out there, right? It was the redneck family you walked up upon and you're like, oh man, they got rebel flags out front. This not gonna be pretty. That would invite you in and buy the whole
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Hey, give me them
or you
black
ain't lying.
biscuits too, son. I want them too.
Bro, how many waters and snacks were we offered to do when we sold them cards back then?
Yeah, man.
So what the book field taught me was never prejudge your customer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to present the product.
Yeah.
That's your only job. Present the product and what the benefit of your products are, and then allow the person to make the decision that's best for them and their family, or best for them in their situation. The problem is we automatically go in and say, "Oh, that's a white couple. They're not going to be interested in the black books, so I'm not going to show them that."
And that's so interesting because I was reading a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, and he talked about that concept in terms of like, I'm sure you read it just because you nodded your head, but he talks about that concept about how car salesmen, the top salesmen, usually are the ones that have no predetermined notion of
Predetermined notion of what the person wants.
yeah, like that you might see like a young teen come in here and you automatically assume they're just in here BSing. You don't know who their parents are. You don't know nothing about them, right? You might see a black person coming here that looks a certain way and you just automatically judging them. You have no idea what the background is, man. So I love that.
It's funny you say car salesman because one of my first situations that another lesson I learned in sales was when I had my firstborn. When AJ was born, I was driving a Toyota Supra,
Yeah.
2-door car. And my wife at the time was like, hey, that's not going to work. You need to get a different car. So I went to the Ford dealership and a guy walked out. It just so happened I parked my 2-door Supra right next to a Mustang. And as soon as I got out the car, the salesman walked up to me and said, man, that Mustang's you, bro. That's you right there, man. What I need to get you into that Mustang. You know what I did? I got right back in my car and drove out the lot. I drove 12 miles down the road to Thornton Chevrolet. And I never forget it. A white guy named Don Thompson came out to me as soon as I pulled up. And I parked by the Mustangs again. I don't even know how that happened. And Don comes up to me. He says, hey, sir, I don't want to disturb you. Glad you came by to look at cars with us today. My name is Don. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. And he walked away. Yeah. So I started looking at cars, looking at trucks, looking at everything. I looked at I think it was I don't know what I looked at, but I said, Don, let me ask you a question. He said, hey, before you ask your question, let me ask you a few. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your situation so I can see if we have anything that even fits what you need. I was like, excuse me? He's like, we may not have what you're looking for, so just tell me your situation. So I said, well, I'm getting ready to have a newborn. I definitely need to have a different car than a 2-door Toyota Supra. He says, okay. He says, well, the Explorer is a good truck. He says, I wouldn't show you a minivan because you don't look like a minivan type person. Am I correct? I say, you're right. He said, well, I didn't see you as the minivan person. He says, the Explorer is a nice truck. Based on your height, it will give you a little bit more leg room, but you can still have a sporty look at a family event. He says, but if it's within your budget, what I really think would be better for you would be the Expedition. Is it okay if we take a look at it? You know what I walked out of there with that day?
The Expedition.
Fully loaded. He sold me every damn thing on that damn truck.
Man.
But here's the difference. He allowed me to buy.
Yeah.
The first guy was selling me on what he thought I needed.
Yeah.
Don was saying, tell me what you need and let me show you what I have that matches that. So he started off with my height, room in the back seat, being able to see your child through the rear view mirror with our little rear view underglow. You know, that different little features. I was like, yeah, add that too.
They talk about that in How to Win Friends and Influence People too.
Yeah.
And that whole concept of letting people want to feel like they're the ones that make the decision. They didn't
Bruh.
get sold to.
I want you to understand this. There's no one out there that doesn't want the fully loaded item. Think about that. Why would you buy a generic item? The only reason to buy generic items from you is because you sold it. You didn't allow them to tell you that they wanted the fully loaded stuff.
Yeah.
It's all about asking questions and allowing the customer to say, that makes sense.
So okay, because I want to get out. How in that summer when you were 18, 19 years old, that summer, college, because it sounded like you were very aggressive. You were very, into it. How did that summer go as far as like the number of sales you made? How did that one end up going? Because that sounded like 3,000 doors.
The first summer I was invited out by my best friend who was at Florida State, one of my good friends, Dwayne Rayner. He brought me as part of his team. And that summer I was in the top 50 or something in sales. So much so that they asked me to bring a team out. So I brought the very first team from Florida A&M University to Southwestern.
Nice.
And I was just looking at the little awards the other day. We were in the top 20 the whole time. Now, our team was probably smaller. I'm talking major universities, top star universities bringing 30, 40, 50 people. I think I had 8 people with me that when we were in the top 20 the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
With 8 people.
With 8 people.
And this is when you weren't even 20 years old.
Yeah, Rodney Crowell was one of my top salespeople. To this day, he's top in sales in the company that he works for. Yeah, Corey. Yeah, I had a good team.
And I want to talk about how this has segued into what you're doing today now, because I know I had the luxury of hearing a little bit of your story, especially like with Legalshield, as far as like the numbers that you've been able to put up there. But I want you to share with the audience, like, what have you been able to do for that company? And then also moving forward from there, what you plan on doing even afterwards outside of the company.
And talk about what that actually is, like the network marketing thing and that whole, because this is the first time we've had someone on here talking about network marketing. So I want people to understand what that whole thing is. Can you talk about that?
So most people don't realize, but network marketing, the industry of network marketing, multi-level marketing, has created more millionaires than any other industry. Mm-hmm. So let's start there. I'm a firm believer that if there's a good product, it's a good company. Then I'll say that. So make sure the product or the service is good. If that has been proven, then you just have to decide which product or service you believe in. And then pick one, right? So I'm about equal justice. With all the racial unrest and everything that I see, and everything is legal in this world, in my opinion. And I think one of the biggest reasons we as people suffer is we don't know our rights. Because I'm a firm believer. If you don't have access to an attorney, even if you know your rights, you don't have any.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what attracted me to Legalshield. It just so happened when I was introduced to it, it was when 2 of my kids are adopted, and I needed to get a will done. And my fraternity brother, who was an attorney, says, "Hey, I'll give you a discount. We'll do it for about $500." He says, "We usually charge $1,200." And I go to this Legalshield presentation and they say, we do your will, your living will, and your medical health care power of attorney for you and your spouse, and it's included in your membership for $24.95 a month. I was like, $24.95, $500, let me try $24.95. If that doesn't work, then I'll pay the $500. But $24.95 worked just fine. They did a phenomenal job, got to visit the law firm. They notarized everything, went over everything with us, didn't cost me anything extra. So that was part of the service.
So you used it before you actually became a sales.
Yeah. So what Legalshield does is they give for $24.95 a month, a family has access to all the top ranked law firms to where you have unlimited telephone consultation, contract and document review. They prepare your will, your living will, your medical health care power of attorney. Everything's available to you on a simple app on your phone also. So if I was to get a speeding ticket, I could simply just pull my app out, just take a picture of the ticket on my app, send it to the law firm, and they'll have an attorney go to court on my behalf. So I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's simple there. So you can
Wherever?
see it. Yeah. So you just press the button, take a picture of the ticket, send it. It automatically schedules an attorney to go to court on your behalf. That's anywhere in the country. So that benefit is available throughout the United States and Canada. So I decided to do the business part-time. I was in a foster parent group at the time. So I figured, look, if I needed it, I'm sure some of these other foster parents do it. I can probably earn some extra income just sharing information. Well, surprisingly, my first year I did about 30,000 on a part-time basis. Second year I did a little over 50. My third year I did over 80. My fourth year I did over 114, which was more than I was making after 20 plus years with my grocery retail company, my full-time job. Mm-hmm. And then by 2009, it was paying me about $8,000 a month in residual income, meaning the customers that had gotten the membership in the first 4 or 5 years were still paying their monthly fee. And because they were still paying their monthly fee, the company was paying me a percentage because I brought the customer to the table.
Wow.
So that's the book of business. Your book of business is your book of business. So as long as your customer, you get paid an upfront commission for the first year of them having the service. Every year after that, as long as they pay their monthly, you're eligible to up to 28% of that premium paid to the company is actually paid to you based on what we call your persistency. So the better your book of business is, the higher your commission. And so I just happen to have a great persistency rate, meaning the majority of the people that get the membership from me keep it long term. And it's I always say the better your customer persistency is, the better your residual income. And so I just happen to be in a great category. And so my residual income became, 6 figures, and so I retired in 2017, and my second year in the business, I started doing what we call group, where we go to companies. Instead of just sitting down with one person or one family, I would go to a company and say, hey, let me talk at your next staff meeting. So I would sign 15, 20, 100 people up in one day, and the company's paying me $120 to $300 per customer direct deposit the next day. So it was good, right? And so to where the company eventually asked me to be what they call a trainer, a group trainer, to where I would teach people that would come into the industry how to go into companies and provide it as a benefit to other companies and their employees. And so I became trainer of the year for the company a couple of times, and then been blessed to recruit some great people. So on my team, on my personal team alone, there are 11 people that are what we call in the ring earner capacity, meaning they earn anywhere from $50,000 to over $1 million every 12 months with the company. On my team that I'm a part of, Team New Vision, there are 119 people that earn anywhere from $50,000 to over $1 million every 12 months. And there are 26 of us now that are what we call Millionaire Club members, that we've earned over $1 million in commissions from the company.
Wow. When did you hit $1 million?
So I joined in 2003. I was inducted into the Millionaires Club in 2007, 2008, somewhere around there.
Wow, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick. So one, because we don't talk about network marketing a lot, but just based on,
I think it was 2008, 2009, somewhere around there.
Okay, yeah. So just based off of what you're saying, what it really sounds like is that with network marketing, you had the opportunity to really go in under the protection of someone else, or under the shield or umbrella of someone else's brand or company. You can create your own company essentially within there, right? And so for you, it's what you essentially, you create $1 million company within 5-6 years, which is incredible.
So here's the good thing about network marketing. Network marketing to me is the best. So you talk about Dave from the morning meetup, David Shant. He was a part of Legalshield. It was prepaid legal at the time.
Yeah.
That's how Dave and I got to know each other. So that's how I got to work with Dave earlier on in his career. And that's where he'll tell you he got most of his personal development from. Network marketing, outside of the money, the personal development that comes from network marketing that's where the system is set up for you to personally grow.
Yeah.
That's where you're introduced to the Jim Rohns, right? The Think and Grow Rich, the How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't care what business you're in, whether you decide to go network marketing, whether you try to go entrepreneurship. But if you're in any of those spaces, you definitely have to work on your personal development, because you only attract what you become. You can only attract what you become. You have to become more successful to attract more successful people to your team.
That's a fact.
Right? People want to work with you based on how you treat them. And the only way you get to learn how to treat people is through the personal development.
Yeah.
Right? So I've grown over the years in different areas of life based on the personal development I received from the mentors that I've been blessed to be around through the network marketing system. And in that growth, it allowed me to earn some great income.
Yeah.
Right? So the income didn't come until the growth came.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, right? I grew into $1 million ring earner. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that they were like, okay, he's here, he'll make $1 million. No, I grew into that. It was taking the courses, it was going to the conferences, it was having the mentors like Mike Humes and Darnell Self and Melissa Wilder in the group sales arena that taught me the different things. And I always say to people, if you want to be successful in any business, find someone that's already done it and sit down with them. And your goal is to shut up and listen. Right? I love when people say, I want to have lunch with you. And then the whole time you have lunch with them, they want to talk to you about themselves. So I'm like, okay, I've learned a lot about you, but I still haven't been able to help you because you didn't listen. Right? I'll give you a perfect example. People always say, well, why are you jumping on Dave Shan's morning meetup call? I mean, shoot, Dave is half my age. But Dave has done something I have not. He's brought a community of 300 entrepreneurs together and built a phenomenal model of wealth in every area, bringing like-minded people together. Why would I not sit down and listen to what this young man has to say? He obviously has done something I have not. He has one of the top podcasts in the country. He has done something I have not. I'm not too big to say I'm not. He's too young for me to learn from. No, he obviously did something I haven't done yet. So it would make sense for me to find out what he did or sit at his feet and find out what the secrets are. Why would I try and knock my head against the wall to go figure it all out just out of pride?
Everything that you're saying right now is just hitting me so hard because I have two different things I want to talk about. First of all, is just what you're talking about with David, as far as like being like twice his age, but still knowing that you can learn something from him. I think when you have that mentality at whatever age that you may be, I think that is when you are fully going to be able to grow without bound, because you are willing to learn from it. First of all, you recognize that somebody else is doing something better than you are in a particular area. They don't have to be doing better than you in your expertise, but they may know something better than you about cooking, about gymnastics, about podcasting. Anything that they know better than you can learn something from anybody, I believe, because everybody has their own gift and everybody has something that they have to offer. And so once you understand that mentality and learn from them as far as what they're gifted at, you will always be able to grow because everybody's an expert in something.
Yeah, but not only that, relationships are important. I always tell people all the time, man, work more on your relationships than you do on anything else. I never forget, my dad said to me, he says, look, when you go to school, I want you to get a good education. I definitely want you to work hard. But what I want you to do more than anything else is work on your relationships with people. Mm-hmm. And the nerd that everybody's making fun of in school, for those of you that are getting ready to go off to college, look, the nerd on campus that everybody's going to be picking on, I'm going to recommend you do the smart thing and invest in that person early. That's the person that's going to be running the major company 5, 10, 15 years from now, and you're going to want that person's insight. Right? Access and inheritance. Access and inheritance. Let me say it again. Access and inheritance will always outproduce hard work and education.
I'm going to write that one down.
No. Access and inheritance will always outproduce hard work and education. I'll give you a perfect example. Gore Bush election. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember that. When you all remember that?
Yeah.
Who actually won the election?
It was Gore.
Gore won the election. Popular vote, everything. Right? Who was the smarter one? Let's be honest.
Depends who you ask.
but Gore, right? More educated, more experience in politics. So tell me how Bush won. His dad was president before him.
True.
There was a little hang up in Florida. His dad had access to the Supreme Court. Mm. They met on a Sunday, the first time in history, and came back Monday with a decision that said, here's your new president, like it or not. Access and inheritance outproduce hard work and education. Your relationships are everything. Who you know and who you have access to can make a major difference in your life.
I think that goes back.
Gore went on to be very successful in whatever he decided to do in his next endeavor, right? Bush, some say, became a great president. However you said, that's totally up to you. Both are important. All four are important. Access is important. Inheritance is important. Education, strong work, all important. But never neglect your relationships. Here's what joining the Meetup crew. I've had some of my best months in the last 6 months in my Legalshield business from people that I've gained access through the morning meetup.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people on the morning meetup have been customers of mine over the last 6 months. That's 300 people I never would have had access to had I not been plugging in. And they didn't just say, oh, there's a Legalshield guy. I came into the community and I contributed. I probably went a year and never said I did Legalshield or promoted Legalshield in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Am I correct, Mom?
Oh, that's correct. I didn't know for a minute.
Never promoted it. I only contributed. When there was a time to contribute or give an input, I gave input.
Now, and that's one big thing. When you gave your input, you had a tremendous value. And I think that's the first. If people can learn to lead with value and not lead with the ask, that is when you receive so much in return.
People get to learn, like, and trust you. That's when they become a customer.
Best known beats best.
Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to mention with the network marketing piece, though, I love the fact that you have access to mentors. You have access to people that, so my mom is actually in network marketing, so they call them upline and downline.
Yep.
So upline are the mentors. Those are the ones that have been doing it a little bit longer. And there's different tiers. So you can look at somebody who's like right above you and see how their systems are working. You can look at somebody who's 5 steps ahead of you as far as in the tiers and see how they're operating their business. So you get to see how people operate their business. You have access to these mentors. And then on top of that, you have mentees, people that you can teach the same thing as you're learning from your mentors. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to train people and you get to learn from people at the same time. And then you have people that you're growing with this. So you said you have a group, you're growing with that group all together. And so you have all those different levels. And then on top of all that, you still have your customers that you're learning repetitively how to win friends and influence people type of mentality with them, learning how to sell to them, learning how to build relationships with them. So it's like a lot of different things working all at once. And then it's just, yeah, I love just the totality of what it has to offer.
What's so good about that system? If I recruit you, the only way I benefit is if I help you get better. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
That's the only way I'm going to benefit is I help you know everything I know.
Yeah.
Like it could only benefit me extremely well if you do extremely better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good system to be a part of.
Yeah.
Where people actually want to see you win because you winning allows them to win also.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why I love it.
Yeah, I think you can gain a lot of personal development from having all of those things that's pouring into you at one time. So you have, like I said, the mentors that are pouring into you new knowledge. Like you are going to them as a student and listening, like you said earlier. You're not going to them talking about yourself. Going to them and saying you're at this level because you've done something that I haven't done. So let me learn from you and figure out what you've been doing and what systems you've been putting into place to make yourself successful. And now you can do nothing but grow yourself because you're learning all new information that's going to make you more successful and put you in the same position that they were in. So I love the entire system. And I love what it can do for people, especially like just like as yourself making that $1 million and becoming $1 million earner in such a short amount of time. And I really wanted to get into the last part as far as, well, I guess really driving up to today. What is your goal now, whether it's in or outside of the of Legalshield itself?
Well, in Legalshield, I definitely want to grow my team to create more ring earners. So, I have a goal to help at least 50 more people hit that 6-figure level within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So on my personal team. Outside of Legalshield, I'm also working on developing this sales training course. I think if people understand the philosophy of sales, and it's going to be, it's across the board. It doesn't matter what you're selling, right? I just think if people understand the philosophy of sales, and a good book I always tell people to read is a book called Go for No.
Mm.
If you're in any type of sales and any type of business, you definitely got to get the book Go for No. But if people could understand the philosophy of sales and realize that sales is simply a conversation with people, getting them to understand the value of what you have and how it matches their needs.
So building off of that real quick, if let's say, because we talk about a bunch of different kind of industries, businesses, things like that on this podcast. So let's say there's someone the 22, 23 years old, kind of working a job, but they're not obviously they're looking for something that can give them financial freedom. If now they're listening to this and they're like, man, network marketing sounds like something that I really want to get into. What would you say are, 2 or 3 of the top skills that they need to start developing to become successful in network marketing or sales? I mean, everything is sales, but just in general to become good at that whole thing.
So first of all, when they go looking for a network marketing company, like I said before, find one that has a good product or service.
Yep.
So make sure that's tested and proven first. Make sure the product and service is good. Make sure the company is established. That's just my personal opinion. First of all, make sure that whichever one you decide is something that you believe in, right? So once you believe in it, because people will buy your belief.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I will take enthusiasm on fire over knowledge on ice. So you don't have to learn everything about the product or the service. You just have to believe in it. If you're enthusiastic about what you believe in, people will buy into your belief, right? So, and then work on yourself. At personal development. Here's what I liked about network marketing. I was working as a store manager, working, 50, 60 hours a week. I had 130 employees that reported to me. I had 14 other managers that reported to me. So I was working a full-time job. But I was still able to build my network marketing business 5 hours a week, right? Because the system was there. Because they said, hey, we only meet on a Monday night at 7:30. You bring your guests. So that was 1-2 hours out of my week that I would know that's the designated time for me to bring my guests. And during the week, here's the book that we're reading. During the week, this is what I need you to listen to. My first audio I was ever given was Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
And and the good news is for everybody here, he's free on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
If you really are thinking about starting a business or going into any type of network marketing or going into any business whatsoever, I strongly recommend that you go to sleep every night with Jim Rohn and start getting your mind developed for this journey that you're about to embark on. Because that's half the battle. If you knock that out early, everything else is going to be easy for you. Because then you'll start understanding that everything is not personal. I think a lot of people get knocked out in network marketing is because network marketing is one of those things that you'll start questioning your friendships.
Why is that?
Because 9 times out of 10, my first year in business, very few of my immediate friends were my customers. And you start asking, man, it's a $24 product, man. I know my boy all my life. He won't support me and buy a $24 a month benefit and you start messing with your head, I thought we were boys. You know what I mean? It's not that serious. Your goal is simply to find a person that wants what you have. And your friendships aren't based on, you would like to think that all your friends would get your legal plan or all your friends would buy your juice or whatever it is that you're selling, but that's not going to be the case. And if your mindset is not ready for that, you'll start letting your lack of friend support take you out of your purpose. If they don't believe in it, then I shouldn't be doing it. No, it's just not for them. And that's where the personal development, the mindset comes into where you first have to decide, okay, I'm going to draw my line in the sand. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build this business with or without them.
Yeah.
And eventually, those same people that would tell you no, once they realize that you're serious, the reason they told you is no is because they probably saw you try a couple other things and quit before. And they're like, I'm not about to waste my money with you again. Right? It's once you prove yourself serious, then they're like, Alistair, you really serious about that Legalshield thing, aren't you? I say, yeah. Have you done your will yet? No. I said, well, look, you should try it with us. Okay, I'll try it now. That's 6 years later. I've been doing it for 6 years. You just wanted to get it. Hey, when they come, they come.
I think that can go for any business and any product, any service that you have to offer. Because I know for a fact, us with the podcast, we still have friends that are just now following, and we've been doing this for 2 years. Yeah. And that's not to call anybody out, but they may not believe in what we're doing at the time that we first started it. But that shouldn't discourage us.
Consistent with it.
Exactly.
And that's what I was gonna say. People ain't gonna take you serious till you take yourself serious.
I tell you what, I always tell people, I feel sorry for people joining Legal Shield in Atlanta because people are going to be like, hey, my goal is going to one of two things people going to say. Oh, you know Alistair Edwards, or I got it from Alistair. It was a point where Legal Shield ran commercials for a short period of time, and they were like, Alistair, man, your commercials are great. Yeah, I know. Mine. Right? They were like, man, your commercials are great. Yeah, I know, man. I appreciate it. Right? You gotta be so sold out for whatever it is you decide to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For people to start rallying behind you or supporting you.
That's a fact, man. And shout out to the legend Jim Rohn, man. Rest in peace to that man, because I started listening to some of his stuff last year, and man, he just the way he conveys his message, man. One of my favorite quotes from him was when he talked about if you don't, have a plan for your life, you're gonna fall into someone else's plan, and chances are they don't have much plan for you. They
don't have much plan for you at all. Yeah, he had bars for days, bro.
Yeah, man. So what we want to do now to wrap up the podcast is kind of get into our last segment, which is the Fast Five. So this is where we just ask you 5 questions and you just answer them in 10 seconds or less. Okay. So I'm gonna take the first one and then we'll alternate. So let's get into it. First question: what does success mean to you?
Happiness.
Simple. All right. Question number 2: what's your favorite money or business book?
Favorite money or business book?
Yeah.
Today Matters.
Who's that by?
That's John C. Maxwell, I think. Today Matters. It's simply talking about do it today.
Okay.
No procrastination with it, yeah.
Stop procrastinating.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather have $1 million today or $1,000 a week for life, and why?
You doing some
math? $1 million today because I could invest it to create something that would pay me $1,000 a week for life.
Yeah.
I saw him doing the math. He's like, just eyes going crazy. No, that's good. I'm glad you thought about it first. Question number 4: if you could go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
I would have started earlier. I would have stepped out on faith way earlier.
How old were you when you started Legalshield?
I was in my 40s.
Really? I mean, man, you don't look older than you.
That's what I was finna say it, bro. Like,
no. I was 17 years from now. I'm 52. Do the math, whatever that is. 30 something.
Man, you look like you could be in your 30s, man.
Yeah, you look like you in your late 30s.
That's that jackfruit. That's that jackfruit.
That
jackfruit. Yeah, man. So last question then. Where can people find out more about you?
Let me see. Instagram, Alistair, ALISTAIR .Edwards, EDWARDS. Probably the best way to just follow me there or DM me or anything like that. My link tree's on there. That'll give you all my links to everything else.
Well, there y'all have it. The Alistair Edwards. This has been a dope episode, man. We appreciate you coming here and being the first one to talk about network marketing, especially, to that extent, and also sales, man, because there's so many gems in here that people could take, especially when it comes to personal development, man. So we appreciate you. We definitely gonna have to bring you back sometime in the future, man, to run it back again. Hopefully when we got a little more clout and, we could even add more value to you.
No, you all bring value. I mean, and let me give Marlon his flowers while he's here, man. Marlon is on this morning meetup group with us, and I don't know if he's a mind reader or psychic, because he types notes like as the speaker is saying them. I'm like, dude, how do you get all of that out? So like as they're giving the points, it's coming down in the chat. Like Marlon is. He's a genius, man. So it's got to the point where I don't even take notes anymore. I just copy paste. Like I got a whole email file, Marlon, from each speaker that is basically your notes. Copy and paste.
I much appreciate it.
It's like a whole lot easier, man. And I want to thank you for the value that you bring to the organization. And Alex, for the first time getting to meet you, brother, I can see. I've already seen that you are a reader.
Oh yeah.
Like running off books and titles and phrases and that's good, man. I love that. And I tell you what the morning meetup has done for me is it's excited me about the next generation.
For sure.
Like where I am now, you guys are there now, and it just only means that when you get to my age, you all are going to be at a whole nother level. And that's so good for the community. That's so good for the community, and it excites me.
I'm excited to hear that, honestly, man, because that's really our goal. Just like each generation continues to get better and better. So I'm always very humble when I'm in the morning meetup and I ever mention my age. People are looking at me like, "Yo, you're half my age," and thinking like this. So it's definitely an honor.
I was like, man, this dude's my son.
So, I definitely appreciate that. I'm excited for like where we're going, and then also for everything that y'all have done. Y'all are paving the way for us. So all the information that we have is because of what y'all have been putting out. So it's easy to get the information when it's already out there.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity, fellas.
That's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate if you rated us 5 stars and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can find out more info about us on Twitter at the Monopolizers or on IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged, so be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.